About a minute. That's the graphic right there, and then we'll come on. Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us, MCA TV Public Awareness Weekend. I'm Brian Schmidt, and today I'm joined with Doug Florey, the Laughlin Children's Center.
Yep.
Thanks for coming, Doug. Nice to
my
have
pleasure.
you today.
Thanks, Brian.
So, Doug, this is fourth time that Laughlin's been,
It is.
joining us today. Thanks for coming
That's right.
back again. Doug's the executive director over at the Children's Center, located right there in Swickley, Doug.
That's right. Right across the bridge from you guys here.
Right across the bridge. Not far travel time, traffic time. You might want to give yourself
That's
some
right.
time these days. So right across the bridge, right there.
Yeah, we're on the corner of Broad and Frederick Avenue.
Okay. So really easy to find for those of you. A little bit about the Laughlin Children's Center for those that might not have know about it or know where it is or what kind of services you do.
Right.
You guys work with children between the ages of 2 and 18.
That's right. We have 3 departments, Brian. Academics, psychology, and speech language.
Okay.
The academic department, we do evaluations for children. We do one-on-one and small group tutoring. The speech department does screenings, full-blown evaluations, and then therapy. And the psychology department does evaluations. They'll often team up with the academic department to do both academic and psychological evals. Then they also provide child and family counseling.
Okay.
Then the other program that we have is our village preschool. We have a really great preschool classroom. It's out in our carriage house. It's for kids who are 3, 4, and 5 years old.
Okay. So you got a little bit for everyone, not just,
do.
Maybe not just like you're learning in school, but like you said, the psychology department can help with family issues and family problems too. It's not just
Exactly.
Strict schooling.
Exactly.
You said for the speech, you were talking earlier, you said pretty much everything takes place, on campus right there in
That's right.
Swickley. But preschool, when your child's in preschool, the speech, teachers will go out to the school and screen and,
Yeah, we have a program that we've been offering since, I guess the 80s, called Gateway to Language.
Okay.
And what happens with that program is one of our speech therapists goes out. We work with about 35 different preschools throughout southwestern
Okay.
Pennsylvania. And that speech therapist goes out and screens all of the kids in those preschools for communication delays. So anything related to expressive or receptive language that falls outside of the normal range, the speech therapist will send a letter home to parents recommending that they go and get a full-blown evaluation.
Okay.
And they can do that at Laughlin, but they can also do it at a variety of other places.
right, just kind of finding,
Exactly. We found, and certainly research bears it out, that the earlier you can get help for kids, whether that's speech language or academics or even psychological issues, the earlier that you can help them, the better.
Right, okay. And then the teachers that work in Laughlin, just like any teacher in a school, there are certified teachers.
Yep, that's a great point. All of the tutors that we use are Pennsylvania Department of Education certified. Just as you said, just like any teacher would be in a public school. The other point that I think is important is they're certified in the subject that they're teaching your kids.
They just don't have that broad certification. They are focused on
Exactly.
what they're teaching your kid.
Exactly. So if your child needs, help in geometry or algebra 2, for example, the tutor in the class, in the room with him, is a secondary math teacher, not an elementary ed teacher, something like that.
Man, I could have used that math tutoring when I was in school. Math, not my favorite subject. So Laughlin's been around for a while. We've talked about that, and it's had a great history of serving the children, the families in the region. How did the center, first get started?
Oh, it has, I think, a really interesting history. Our full name is the Mary and Alexander Laughlin Children's Center.
Okay.
So Mary and Alexander owned the Ambridge Tube Company. Different Laughlin family than Jones and Laughlin Steel, but
Okay.
this family was also in steel. In 1897, Mary convinced Alexander, her husband, to build a mansion in Swickley Heights. It was a huge house that had 25 bedrooms.
Okay.
And the intent that Mary had in building this was to get young mothers and infants out of out of Pittsburgh, which at the time, the Industrial Revolution's at
Right.
its height, pollution was really pretty horrible. So Mary convinced her husband to build this place to get mothers and newborns out of that pollution and into the fresh air of what was then really the country. The name of the house was the Swickley Fresh Air Home. Mrs. Laughlin died in the 50s and left a sizable bequest to the Fresh Air Home. But by that point in its history, there were really better places for those kids to go. Throughout its history, it sort of morphed from being the Fresh Air Home into a place where kids with tuberculosis and polio could go. For a while, it served as an orphanage. But by the early 50s, when Mrs. Laughlin died, like I said, there were really better places for those kids to go. It's a case where I think society sort of caught up with her,
Sure, yeah,
her idea, right? So after she died and left us the Fresh Air Home this money, they had the money, but not really any clients.
Sure.
At the same time, there was the Swickley Child Counseling Center that did child counseling, obviously, in Swickley. They had a lot of clients and no money.
Okay.
So luckily there were some board members that those two organizations had in common, and those women got together and they petitioned the Allegheny County court system to let those two organizations merge, and that's how we became Laughlin Children's Center. We sort of grew out of those two institutions.
Sounds like a nice fit. The money on one side,
The clients on the other.
Sounds like
It
a
also
nice fit.
explains why we have sort of these three departments that at first glance you might think, well, how do academics and psychology and speech go together?
Right.
Well, the academics and the psychology grew out of those two earlier institutions.
I see. And you're talking about being back, from the 50s and been around for a while. And when we were talking before we came on, you mentioned how, kids have gone through the Laughlin Children's Center, they've gone on to college and, been successful. And you said the cool thing to see with you being there as long is you've had now, parents that went to Laughlin, their kids are coming to Laughlin, but not even just parents, but grandparents
Right,
now are
right.
bringing their kids
Yeah.
into the Laughlin Children's Center.
That's exactly right. We have grandparents whose grandchildren are now in the Laughlin preschool, in the village preschool. We've been in Swickley at our location on Broad and Frederick since 1956.
Okay.
So we've been in the community a long time.
Right, so community, very community-based, operation.
Absolutely.
Help with the community, and then not only does it help with the community, but right now the way the economy is, and some people might think, my kid will be great, not great, but they would need some help, or it would be great to have my kid get a little bit of help, but
Right.
who knows about the financial, status, and maybe they can't. But you said Laughlin has great financial aid.
We do. Since the very beginning, the Board of Trustees has really made it their mission to not turn away any family who needs service just because they can't afford it. So we have a very generous financial aid program. It's based on federal guidelines,
Okay.
the same guidelines that school districts use
Right.
for free and reduced lunch. And in fact, with Quaker Valley, who was the nearest school district to
Right.
us, but not the only one that we deal with, Quaker Valley's administration is really forward-thinking. And on the free and reduced lunch application for the district, they have a little box that parents can check that allows that information to be shared with Laughlin, so that parents don't have to go through the process of filling out those financial aid applications over and over
it's just-
again.
yeah,
It
you get-
really kind of streamlines the process.
Right. So no matter what, you might not think, don't hesitate to call you guys if you think money will be a problem, because
Absolutely,
no one,
yeah.
like you said, make sure no one gets turned away. And we might as well right now put out, people watching at home that thinks they want to get their kid involved, good way of contacting you guys to, get the process started.
picking up the phone, I think, is the easiest way. Our phone number is 412-741-4087. You know, the receptionist can take information. We have a client information coordinator who can return the calls. Folks can email me. I'm happy to.
They're seeing it right now on their screen right now. All the contact information, you know, the website as well, the laughlincenter.org. You can go check out information there if you want to get a hold of you guys and just kind of start seeing what you guys have to offer.
Absolutely.
You know, like you said, you deal with a lot of schools in the Southwest Pennsylvania area. You know, specific school. Most of the stuff is done on your campus right there in Swickley, but you guys do reach out and have a few tutoring with the Swickley YMCA.
Yeah, the Swickley Y. Oh, I don't know. I guess it's been a year now. Opened a teen center called the Oasis. Okay. Specifically for kids to have a place to go, middle school mostly, but some high school, and hang out after school hours. They don't have to be Swickley Y members. They can still come and use the facility. We provide a certified teacher once a week to go and help kids with homework or test preparation or anything like that. So that and our Gateway to Language program, the screening program that I mentioned earlier, are really the only two things that we do off campus. Everything else happens on our campus there in Swickley.
That's nice that, you know, like you said, you don't have to be a member of the Swickley Y to go and participate in you know, the Oasis program. So, you know, people right there in Swickley, you know how it's a nice town where you can walk around, you know, take a trip up to the Y and, you know, get involved in the program.
Right. And that's certainly been a benefit to us. Parents can drop their child off for speech therapy or for counseling or tutoring, and then have the village to walk around, do some shopping, maybe have, you know, a quick bite to eat or a cup of coffee or something, rather than just sitting in the waiting room.
Right. Then, not quite sure if you guys mentioned it, but last year you guys were underneath a great, exciting renovation project going on down there.
Yeah. It was really pretty extensive. It was all three of our buildings, as well as the grounds around our campus and our playground. It was $750,000. We are really proud of the fact that we raised that through grants and donations. So it didn't impact tuition at all. But as I said, we renovated the interior of all three buildings. Really brought it up to state-of-the-art, best practice sort of situations. The speech therapy rooms and some of our counseling rooms, for example, now have observation rooms attached to them. Small rooms where parents or other clinicians can sit and observe what's going on in the therapy sessions. It's one-way glass, so that the children aren't, the therapy itself isn't impacted by having
somebody watch them.
Yeah, exactly. We're really blessed. Just in the past month or so, First National Bank stepped up and provided a small grant for us to be able to purchase audio equipment. So now parents or other clinicians in the observation rooms can wear headsets and hear what's happening in the therapy rooms themselves.
So the parents can sit in and watch what their student or their child is doing, but they're not actually in the room. And the child doesn't feel, you know, the pressure of people watching them.
Right. But parents can then go home and use sort of the strategies that the speech therapist for example, was using during that day. So it really helps the child.
Yeah, instead of just getting, you know, the work done in the building,
30 minutes,
they can kind of, you know, see how it's done, see the teaching techniques, and then just help the child even more when they get home.
Yep, you got it.
So the renovation project, we all wrapped up, we all completed, or is there still more
things? It is.
Things?
We've raised 90% of that $750,000. I'm still looking for $75,000. So if you or any of the listening population is
412-741-4087, just throwing it out there.
But the work itself is all done, and we're so pleased with the results. We've always, we feel, provided really good service. But the past decade or so, our appearance didn't match up with the good quality work that was going on. And now we really feel that it reflects what's going on.
Like you said, the Laughlin Center right there in Swickley has been around since the 50s. And from the 50s till today, not big change was the technology, you know, the computers and internet. And,
absolutely.
You know, now, like you said, the buildings are all state of the art. They have you know, the latest technology in them.
Wi-Fi. For those of you who know our building, that 1956 building right on the corner, it's basically a square donut. And in the middle, the whole of the donut is an outdoor courtyard.
Okay.